In my opinion, based on what we've all seen thus far of this new Dungeons & Dragons movie and what I've covered on this channel in previous videos, the particular subjects being a Comic-Con trailer, the only trailer so far, and a featurette. Rather limited scale in what we've had to judge this movie by, but what the marketing has offered has painted a perception of a very promising film and a, I would imagine, successful not only summer blockbuster, but a successful franchise launcher, which Paramount has needed in terms of an improved reputation. They've needed to get rid of they needed a facelift of the negativity that has been regarded to them for, I'm sure, a while, given maybe the stock reports or perhaps some of the brand offerings in regards to quality and audience reception. I'm thinking perhaps in terms of specific IPs, and I reference these all the time when I'm thinking about Paramount, Star Trek, and Halo. Even if you never personally engage with those franchises in their Paramount iteration, you're probably aware of the response. But over the course of what I've seen over the 2022-2023 year, and some might argue, I'm just considering dates that are readily available in people's memory, but some might argue, again, it's been incremental over a period of a number of years. I'm seemingly discounting, though I'm not. You could easily, pine on that if you wanted to. I'm thinking of IPs like A Quiet Place, Top Gun Maverick, Yellowstone, the TV series, and all the spin-offs or non-related spin-offs coming off of Taylor Sheridan's other work. Or you could look at perhaps some of their particular genres of focus. I think their horror department has done quite well. Scream, Smile, Orphan First Kill, I've been very impressed. I feel that this new D&D movie, based on what I'm seeing of it and how I'm looking at it in consideration of other related IPs under the Paramount umbrella, I think Paramount has a better reputation manifesting. Now, the D&D brand, as far as what I've heard of it, may be in a bit of a compromised space. I've referenced material before, but I've seen perhaps it's put it in a rather controversial position, perhaps, and maybe, there's some discussion on the movie or the general property as well from maybe audiences that might polarize retention to it. I'm quite impressed, though, in terms of its delivery and what we've seen of it in a quality standpoint and what it's had to offer, maybe just not in the again, I'm looking at perhaps traits to this movie that will prove it to be pretty successful in engaging an audience. I think the cast lineup, Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, Sophia Lillis, who I absolutely love coming off the It movies, I think she does a great job from what I've seen of her here, Justice Smith, Hugh Laurie, or is it Hugh Grant? I think maybe Hugh Grant. A lot of big names in this movie. A lot of draws, but the VFX look great, the world building looks excellent, the environmental details really impressed me, and as a science fiction type fantasy role-playing adaptation, I'm quite interested. I do think this has a lot of drive to it. There's a humor as well in terms of what's been broadcast thus far through the script. I'm impressed with it on a number of levels. It looks like a very competent picture, and I could imagine it's doing very well for Paramount. Again, like I said, as an emerging brand, you could do streaming series, you could do other movies. I'm sure this is going to be, that's the testing waters with this original foundational project. I would say there's good enough reason to believe this is going to evolve in the future, and this is going to be, like many of the other IPs I referenced, quite successful. But let's gauge this new trailer. It's trailer number 2 officially. It's a more recent iteration, so we have obviously some time. It's closer now to the July window. It'll probably be another final trailer, I'm sure, because we've still got several months to go. But it's a nice holdover in the time that we've had, and I would imagine because of the, the time it takes to maybe make VFX a little more improved, even though, again, I thought this movie entirely was serviceable from what I've seen of it, I'm sure this will look great. Let's see if they continue on the delivery of what we've seen thus far, and this trailer as well paints a successful reputation. It boasts the quality. I hope it does, because again, I'm looking for this film to succeed. I'm excited for it in terms of a summer blockbuster, and as somebody who's not familiar with the D&D brand, other than by Stranger Things, I think a lot of us could probably relate on that level, I'm curious to perhaps learn more. Let's see. Let's see what we can make out of it here. But again, so far I've been very impressed, as I'm sure many of us have been. Yeah, again, like I said, solid VFX.
On your knees.
Okay, chop it off.
Chop it off, let's do it.
Good action scenes. Great choreography, beautiful cinematography to complement those shots. And of course, Michelle Rodriguez can fight if you've watched the Fast and Furious movies. They're still using the same soundtrack, though.
But we hope the wrong
I would have diversified it a bit, but that's okay.
And unleash the greatest evil the world has ever known.
The Red Wizards created an army of the undead.
The color palette with the red drenching on that blue looks excellent.
I know I was being ironic.
It's like a blue-gray.
I find irony is a blade that cuts he who wields it most especially.
You're not a lot of fun, are you? How are we gonna pull this off?
We're gonna need a team.
Another team-up movie, there's so many of these.
Follow me to the orifice.
Because...
Orifice?
I wasn't agreeing.
I'll go last.
It fits the name.
Don't mind that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
She missed.
No, that's not good.
Again, the color palette of this movie is absolutely amazing. Oh, they change it up.
Sick of failing.
Nice.
We could die.
There's worse things than dying.
Add some freshness here. That's a bit of a remix version of the tune.
I lost everything that ever mattered to me. And if we quit now, that's for nothing.
I don't want to see you die, which is why I'm going to leave the room.
This ends now.
There's a lot of care put into this movie.
The bridge is protected by an ancient trap. We must not trigger the mechanism.
I may have triggered the mechanism. So, sorry.
I've seen that type of gag before, it's fine. Fitting in the context of, again, a very humorous script, and one that I think will definitely have a lot of appeal for everybody, even adults. I could imagine it's doing very well with, like, the tween bracket. But I think in terms of the fantasy side, and the casting draws, and the overall script, and the energy to the piece, I think it's a solid land, especially for a summer blockbuster. It sets in quite nicely. And I think for the July season, I haven't considered what's offered in comparison to other companies during that time. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not coming out in July. Did they change the date? It's coming out in March. I thought it was July. Okay, that makes sense. Now I'm thinking... Sorry. It didn't even faze me. I would think this is more of a summer movie. March? Okay. It's springtime. I think delivery-wise it still could do quite well, but I see this more in the territory of a summer blockbuster, if I'm being honest with you. It's not bad, though. The VFX work, like I've said, is solid. Anything surrounding the powers of this movie and how it's blended with certain shots. I mean, if you look at the color palette specifically, it's an obvious choice that there's a methodology in terms of the shots and the way they're positioned and the color and what you see on screen. I love this red blend with the gray. It's just, it's so engrossing as a visual. I love it. There's a real artistry side to this, and I do feel the VFX are all solid. I don't feel in any way they're unconvincing. And it's not just like the red and the gray. I mean, VFX anywhere, really. The purple hue on that one shot, the green, it's just gorgeous. And again, the world building with all these locations, I'm imagining most of them, again, are CGI, but they're just gorgeous to behold and look at. So much so that you're enveloped in this, like, tourist journey of, I don't know what you call this, the D&D land, but I really feel like this is a competent picture. I'm very excited to see it, at least just witness it for the first time, perhaps learn more about the D&D property. I'm still, questioning perhaps the accessibility of the brand as well for somebody like me who's disengaged other than Stranger Things. That's the only connection I have to this property other than the casting of Chris Pine and many other names I listed. And they're all a draw. What are your guys' considerations? I mean, do you feel like this is more tied into knowledgeable D&D players, or do you think, again, the realm or the general moviegoer could go and watch this not having to do any research? I sense an energy to that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below if you'd love to disclose those, if I use your choice. I think, again, it's a picture of a lot of competence, and Paramount has needed that type of reputation for a long time, and I feel that D&D, Honor Among Thieves, is a great brand startup. I do. I think the script is going to appeal very well to adults. That orifice joke was hilarious. I mean, even Kai caught that. And some reason, jokes fly over my head. But, I mean, that was pretty direct in the way it was scripted, so I didn't... It's impossible not to, especially with that image. It's very on point. The script is great. The world building is fantastic in terms of big-tier sci-fi fantasy-type films, especially ones of a role-playing adaptation. Or it's got that baseline. This fits very well. It's a highly engaging release. I'm very curious to see it. Again, I think this is more of a summertime release, if I'm being honest. I won't confuse it again. Okay, so in March. That's an odd time. But we'll see. We'll see how it fares. I think there's a lot of potential to it, though. We'll see if it can draw, the ultimate audience, but I'm curious to see more, and I'm curious to not only see the prominence of this picture, but the expansion that I believe is inevitable. It's just boasting that. And I feel that if the feeling I have, because, you know, this is just a trailer, a lot could change when you go and watch the movie. If movie and trailer are synonymous in the takeaway emotion, I think there's a lot of growth here, but I think we're building on a very stable foundation, and Paramount, I'm sure, would be very proud of that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.